watching the Bulldog Brewhouse podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Steve Grover back for another episode of the Bulldog Brewhouse podcast. I hope everyone's having a good time. Stampede went well. This is another edition. We're now August 1st, 2024, entering a new month, and hopefully this will be a good month for everybody. I know we're heading into like the summer season. It's going to be probably hot in August and a lot of riding going out there, a lot of holidays out, maybe people heading out to Kelowna, LA, and back east, but hopefully everyone, has a good August. Hopefully everyone's Stampede went well. And my special guest today is Bruce. Bruce, you want to say hi to everybody out there?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Steve. My name is Bruce Holstead. I'm with the Fresh Start Recovery Center. Really grateful to be here hanging out and having some conversation with Steve today. So, I'm looking forward to see where we go, what we talk about, yeah.
Yeah, so I know you, and I've known you for a while. I mean, obviously with my viewers out there, can you tell everyone a little bit about who Bruce is, where you're from, and why I decided to have you on the podcast on this episode?
Sure. I just kind of started laughing because it's a little bit like a psychological theme park sometimes. As I said, professionally, I'm the executive director.
Look at me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Professionally, I'm the executive director of Fresh Start.
Yeah.
I'm a guy in lived recovery.
Yeah.
And I'm a motorcycle enthusiast. I think that, that's kind of where we started with.
Yeah.
And we started to develop some other pathways and crossovers, if you want to know truthfully, I'm just a guy that wants to make a difference in community.
Okay.
I want to build some community. I want to bring people together, find solutions for whatever issues are out there. And,
okay.
I've kind of spent my life doing that for the last 20, 25 years.
So where are you originally from?
I'm a Calgarian, born and raised.
Okay.
Yeah.
What hospital were you born in?
Holy Cross.
Okay, so we got something in common. I was born in Holy Cross too.
All right.
So maybe that tells everyone how old we are.
Yeah, totally, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then growing up, what high school did you go to?
Ernest Manning.
Okay. Ernest.
A crossover. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I talk about the lived experience. I was in Ernest Manning and then I was no longer in public school and I ended up going to St. Mary's.
Okay.
Downtown, over.
So that's that Catholic school.
Totally.
On 17th Avenue, just down from the Stampede
Yeah.
Park. Okay.
Yeah.
And how was your life growing up in Calgary?
I grew up in Calgary. My dad was in the service. So
What branch was he in?
PPCLI.
What's that?
Good one on me. Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry.
Yeah. Okay.
We were located in Currie Barracks. And grew up there for a while, and then we moved over to Glenmore or Glenbrook, Glenmorgan, Glenbrook area.
Yeah. So I'm old enough to remember when the Currie Barracks was actually a barracks, and they had those old military houses there. I mean, they almost like a makeshift houses. Did you live in one of those?
We did. Yeah, totally. We lived in a duplex. And, I think maybe that's where the community bit comes from me, Steve, is like, it's like its own community. You knew the neighbors. Yeah. There's no fences in the yards. You played football and you ran across everybody's yards and nobody had anything to say. And, there's 2 kids in every house and there was always something to do. And then, when we moved out to the community from the Army base, it some differences, right? Yeah, there's broken families and those kinds of pieces. You still hung out and did things, but...
so how was it growing up as a military brat, as they call
them? I don't think any different, honestly.
No?
You know what I mean? My dad's values, my parents' values and principles were still the same.
Yeah.
Still, I think you were always aware that there was a little bit more of a watchful eye going on.
So obviously, if your dad's in the military, was he in the Army service?
He was.
Okay,
Army,
and was he infantry or?
Yeah, PPCL infantry.
Okay, and then obviously, given in the military background, there's probably quite a lot of discipline in your family, eh?
Yeah, I don't mean to hesitate. So I come from a family of 4. I got 2 brothers and a sister, and there's a little bit of a age gap between me and my next sibling.
Yeah.
So they got most of the real discipline, that you think about. And so by the time I came, Dad was a little bit older and, mellowed out, they said, a little bit. It wasn't like the same way. But, it was pretty stern. You messed up. there's probably a licking that came along with it to straighten you up and put you back in place.
I mean, was your house pretty like did mom take care of the house and make sure everyone the beds were made, dinner was on the table, and laundry was done every day?
It was that exact growing up. Mom had her role at home, and she's the homemaker and did the shopping, made the dinners. Kids, you had your chores, you did those pieces. Dad attended work every day. Back and forth. It was like clockwork. 4:30 he was home, and if something went wrong in the day, Mom would be wait till your father gets home, and then that was oh my God.
Okay, so another similarity between you and I grew up in a family of 4 too, so I have 3 younger sisters. And unfortunately I was the only boy and the oldest. So when I got Dad's discipline pretty good, and then giving girls, I mean, the dad always gives a little leeway to the the baby girls and daughters in the family. So but I grew up in the Southwest also.
Did you?
Off Elbow Drive in Bel Air.
Okay.
But we still had a good family. Like my mom was taking care of the house. Everything was clean. We had dinner, breakfast, everything. So kind of old school kind of lifestyle. Hey, not compared to nowadays a little bit.
Yeah, completely. And I think that was, that experience of that transition, we get that part, right? And that kind of duality, if you will, that experience by when I left that environment to the community on the Army base where that was the norm. Everybody was married, and the houses were called PMQs, private married quarters. So to be there, you had to be married, and when they're married, there's kids, and so it was there. And then when we came out to the neighborhood, we moved into a good neighborhood. It was Glenmorgan. It was well established, good family, but. That was probably my first indicator where I experienced, getting friends that, only had a mom or, those separate pieces. So,
I mean, circumstances happen like that. And, everyone means good. So, and then you're, you obviously grew up here in Calgary. Did you move elsewhere in the meantime, like before?
Not a lot. I went to Edmonton for a little while, did some school there.
Did you become an Oilers fan or no?
No. Okay. Didn't separate that way.
Okay. So are you a Flames fan?
Yeah, I would say heart and heart I am a Flames fan. Yeah, right. Totally am.
Okay.
Calgary, regardless of where they stand, and, and still hold on. And, from a professional end, the Flames have been very supportive of our organization. And,
I mean, they're sort of in a downturn now. I mean, they're not the Flames of the late 80s and 90s. And, I don't know. I mean, I've got my theory. If I'm 19 years old, living in Saskatchewan, and I got a choice of, sign with Florida Panthers, the Calgary Flames, I'm probably going to Miami. Hey? You probably wouldn't disagree with that.
Nope, not at all. Not at all, right? Good business choices.
So tell us a little bit about Fresh Start. I mean, I know what it is, and I know a lot of people. You're pretty active in the community here in Calgary. You get a lot of support. Now, Grover Law Firm was with you. Now we're back this year. We are the recovery sponsor for your poker run coming on August 24th. We look forward to sponsoring you, and I think we're stop number 2 on the poker run that day.
100%.
Okay. So tell us a little bit of Fresh Start, about people. I know what you're all about, but what's Fresh Start all about, and when was it founded?
1992 puts us just over 30 years old now that we've been established. It's got a little bit of history to it. It first was developed by a couple, Tom and Carol Berthelot. I just want to talk about them for a little bit because I had my experience. I've worked at Fresh Start for 17 years, but my experience with Fresh Start is 26 years.
Okay.
So when I first came into recovery myself, I met them, and through some serendipity of, it's probably a long story, but Tom and Carol, going back to the family stuff that we were just talking about, beautiful family, right? I remember they invited me over to their house down by the bird sanctuary in Inglewood, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and they're in the, Tom was out in the garden cutting some tomatoes for sandwiches for lunch, and his Carol was in the kitchen making them, and he cut his thumb, and, she come running out, kind of worried about how bad was the cut, and, just seeing the genuine love for each other. It was very attractive to me to want to, develop a relationship and know them. And, at that time they were just beginning to they first started in a garage, just kind of a drop-in for.
So how did they get started? Were they in?
They were in recovery as well.
Oh, okay.
Tom was
alcohol or
Tom was an alcoholic, and
okay.
He was originally he was a stockbroker by trade, and anyway, he decided he wanted to do something on the side to help people, and he opened up this garage where he prepared warm lunches and then somewhere for somebody to get out of the weather for at least a few hours. And that evolved into an organization called CLASP, Christian Love and Shelter Program.
Okay.
And that was originally located down on Bannister Road, where St. Mary's University is now.
Yeah, way down, a little south from our part, and around the Shaughnessy area.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I know where that is.
So they opened up, and Fresh Start at that time rebranded to Fresh Start. And it was at that time a co-ed facility with about, I believe the number was around 40 participants that could attend.
So why did they pick the word Fresh Start? How did that come about? Just starting all over again?
Yeah, I think it's exactly that.
Okay.
At the end when you're about to, you finally surrender to the problem, and you have this opportunity, you have a fresh, clean start.
Okay.
Let's start putting life back together again. So,
okay.
Fresh Start started to evolve, and as it was growing, the Archdiocese was deciding that they, at that time, were investigating the idea of, creating St. Mary's College, and the lease came up, and, Fresh Start was homeless. Yeah. And so they went in hiatus for a little while, and the drop-in center became the fiscal agent for them.
Okay.
And they began a search for another property. Yeah. And over about 2 years, they ended up finding a property located in Abbeydale, right on the corner of Abbeydale and Abbeydale Drive, and I think it's 64th. I might have
that's in the Northeast.
In the Northeast,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
And reopened under an ED at that time. His name was Bill Hart.
Yeah.
And
not related to the Hart family?
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
And they began to revive it again. And at that time, it was only 23 beds.
Yeah.
And it changed over to men only.
Yeah.
And an evolution occurred, and I was working at the drop-in center, so I was connected, and the daughter of my mother the mother of my daughter was working at Fresh Start. I was working at the drop-in, and so they needed some change, and my good friend, best friend Stacy Peterson was in transition. He was originally CEO of Simon House.
Okay.
And he ended up stepping into the role. And, I ended up coming. I had no intentions of ever working there. And, came on, and we got together, and a small team of us began talking about what it could look like, where we could go. And and today we are located at 411 41st Avenue. There we have a 50-bed facility, purpose-built building with the gym and all the amenities that we can take care of that holistic approach to treating the disease of addiction. Yeah. And in this last year or two, we've taken some vertical growth. We entered a partnership with the Alberta government, and opened a 50-bed facility in Lethbridge. Recovery community in partnership with the Alberta government. And just prior to that, we took over a 23-bed facility just adjacent on the same property, basically, from a previous charity. Okay. And so, we went from 23 beds or in Abbeydale up to 123 now. So we serve the Alberta as a whole, and individuals from across Alberta who need assistance or want to, explore some solution to addiction. We try to do our best to provide solutions.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, it's fantastic work that they do in giving us a little history of the Fresh Start. And obviously you're here in Calgary, now you're in Lethbridge. Yeah. Any other expansion to go to some other townships or cities in Calgary or Alberta, or just kind of limit it to your growth?
I think strategically right now we're kind of time to just level out and take a look at what the next direction is. Fortunately at this point in the the bigger picture, the 50,000 foot view.
Yeah.
The government's coming to the table and looking at opening 11 other centers throughout Alberta.
Okay.
Which will, contribute. I thought that was a sign, which will contribute greatly to the, the resources available to people that are looking.
Yeah, you can look at your phone. Don't worry about it.
Sorry, I thought I had it on silent.
That's okay.
This is the great part.
It's not DoorDash calling with it.
No,
fresh
no
pizza
DoorDash
for
looking.
us. Nathan, you want to order a pizza for dinner here?
Yeah, we could. I don't mind.
Okay.
Hey, technology. I don't even call it a phone anymore. It's more like an ankle bracelet, right?
Yeah. Or your lifeline.
Yeah, totally.
When I lose my phone, I'm like naked. I feel like I'm naked.
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to talk to the rest of the world?
It's funny. I like the break from it. I every once in a while when I do forget about it, it's funny.
Yeah.
In the morning, I'll get this time where it's like everything's going smooth, and then I realize I don't have my phone, and I look at it, and it's like 9 missed calls, 7 texts, 14 emails, and it's
well, it seems like everyone wants a text now because whenever I call somebody, it's like they never pick up, but just send the message, and then eventually, people will respond. They'll probably respond to you quicker. I think there's that lack of communication now in society where people are used to emailing or texting, and I don't think anyone's going to really talk on the phone anymore.
I think it's that age thing for you and I, Steve. We're used to pretty direct communication and putting it out there, and I agree. There's a little bit of evolution. I have to phone sometimes because by the time it's just quicker to pick up the phone and dial. But
exactly. So the 11 other homes the Alberta government's getting involved, are they going to be part of Fresh Start or just a different part?
They'll be picked up by other organizations.
Yeah.
I think we've reached our capacity for right now. The amount of growth that we did face, I think there's some learning curve to it. And like any corporation, I'm not saying we're a corporation, but we've had some real strong lessons along the way from just building culture and understanding what that office dynamics and that inner employment dynamics look like to community engagement to how we're represented. The first year of having the 23-bed facility, we went in and we instilled some culture, and that was good. But what we noticed was there was a separation where it was kind of like us and them. But we're one group, right? We're under one umbrella, so it was reformatting that culture and reminding people of that.
Yeah, so can I ask you a question? The culture is everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're in an office or you're in a football team or in a school. So you're saying that there's a separation between the people that are going, admitted to the group home and probably the administration that runs it, okay? And then you want to make it all us, correct?
Yeah.
Now, was there any struggle when you became all us that there would be a loss of respect between the people being admitted in the administration? Because the problem is sometimes people confuse friendship and business together as one, and we've had this problem with someone just recently leaving here. And was there a struggle there with that kind of we're not going to take you seriously, you know what, we're all together, and but was there a loss of respect or anything like that at all, or no?
I kind of smiled a little bit at it because, honestly, this afternoon we were just talking about that, those things. And I did an interview with a guy and we were talking about relationships and he had some policing background, and he was talking about the responsibility we hold in determining the role of the relationship and where that goes. Yeah. When you think about that loss of respect, it wasn't the loss, it was questioned, right? And when I say us and them, they felt like they were, because we took over another organization and the building wasn't as pretty and needed work, and our goal was to do that. But like any business, it was also, functioning at a loss. And we have to, cover those costs and understand how we're going to come over the other side. And during that period, they felt unheard or felt unattended or not seen, and that began to build kind of uncertainty until some of the transparency came in and started saying when they were able to really see what went on and honestly take that moment and own how much was being actually contributed. But there was a little bit of friction that went on to say let's take a look at like what is really going on here and sorting it out. And, it changed some of our, staffing, people left and new people came in and unfortunately, it's not the way I wanted it to turn out, but sadly it's there. On the upside, I think the turnaround in being transparent and having that real conversation and showing them what they didn't know prior allowed them to gain more respect. They came forth and understood that we were actually in their corner and we were trying to help them. And there's only so many resources that you can do, or they lacked the insight of how much resources we were already putting in, and they were taking ownership of resources that were theirs, but they forgot where they came from, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, someone comes, they get admitted to the group home, and it's like, okay, we're all here at Kumbawa, we're all together, and we're here, and then the person takes off late at night because, okay, well, Bruce is my bro, so what's he gonna do?
See, then I hear you.
Know what I'm saying?
I apologize. For me, it's kind of two levels. Like we had one challenge around in the just the staff between, because it was like, we became this corporate entity, and it's like, let's wait to see what corporate says. And it's like, we're not corporate. We're still us. But when you talk about that relationship building and, with me, with the client, we're coming out of that smaller kind of recovery place where it was a lot of kumbaya going on and those connections. But as we grew, we've been pretty cognizant of, the responsibility we have going back to that redirecting the relationship.
So you have
it doesn't stop guys from, trying to Bruce is my bro and let's
push. Well, you're always gonna get people to push the limits, no matter what. Doesn't matter if it's like you're raising your kid, or it's a employee, or you're in a relationship with a woman. You're always gonna try. People are just gonna try and push that limit to see how far they can go. But at the end of the day, do you have to redirect them and say, you know what, you're in the center. We appreciate you being here. We give you respect. Show us respect back, and we'll get you through the program. Do you have to always have to redirect
all day?
Them? Yeah. Okay. So
all day.
It's almost like high school all over again.
Literally, it's and it's what I was describing is in that case was a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of redirecting of the staff when we first took over to help develop that stronger culture.
Yeah.
But then there was also in that became somewhat of a vacuum, because that did occur because too much freedoms were given, and then what ends up happening is, well, why do they get to do that and I don't? And so I have a saying that I got from my predecessor, and it's like, maybe not everybody gets treated equally, but everybody will be treated fairly. And the idea is everybody has a different need. They have a different they have a different reason to push the envelope. My job is to remind the staff, what did you think was going to happen? That's what happens. That's what that's what you need to expect. They're going to triangulate, find every way they can possible to get their needs met and their ends met. They have fear, they have uncertainty, they have shame. These are the contributing factors. So not to mention, like, early in recovery or early in that process, there's a level of manipulation that occurs that has just become a way of life. It's not malice, it's just a coping mechanism. Right?
Well, I mean obviously, Fresh Start's been around, and we've always seen the ads, and we got involved with it years ago, and then we sort of kicked back into it because we want to spread the love throughout the community here in Calgary. I mean, I don't believe in putting all your eggs in one basket. And at the end of the day, the motorcycle community, and generally, being a Calgarian, I think it's important for our firm to give back. You know what I'm saying? But it's interesting, like, when you actually think about it, and, we had that meeting with Rod, and, sort of like, okay, should we get back involved with Fresh Start? They're a good group, and there's a little push and tug in my office, internal politics, and I went home and obviously, talked to the dogs of law, Winston and Roosevelt, the Bulldogs. No, but I thought about it. And, the interesting thing with Fresh Start, when you actually think about it, addiction affects every kind of family or culture or race, no matter what, correct?
100%.
It can be alcohol, it could be gambling, it could be drugs. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't know any culture
there is no
boundaries.
There's no boundaries, right?
Doesn't matter if a guy's in Mount Royal and he's worth $100 million. He could have a kid who's addicted to fentanyl or something.
And I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
The stigma of addiction, we always get this idea of, the broken down drug addict standing, in the middle of McLeod Trail, panhandling. But it's not like that. We had some earlier conversations around, the opioid crisis and, the idea that 80% of the overdoses, I think I might be wrong. Please don't quote me on the number, occur in, suburbia.
Yeah.
The idea of, I would like to get to the place where we talk about it singular. We deal with the disease of addiction.
Mm-hmm.
The choice of model or modality or substance or activity the person chooses to engage in is still the same. It's a disease. It's a brain disease.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. Steve, you could come from a great family, end up as a drunk.
Oh yeah.
You could come from a broken, hard family, and end up as a successsaid lawyer. Whatever. It knows no boundaries. It was funny because when we were coming in and I was joking with the guy, I said, "How do you know Steve?" And I said, "Well, I'm the executive director of Fresh Start. It's an addiction treatment center." And he went through it, and I said, "No, I'm just kidding. He did not."
Okay.
You know what I mean? But it's just that, but it has no boundaries. Right? And we appreciate you spreading the love, and I appreciate even more you making that statement because it's an educated statement. It's something people need to understand that it doesn't matter where you come from. It knows no age, sex, race, religion, economic level of
or intelligence. I mean, you could be like a Rhodes Scholar and have a PhD from MIT and still be addicted to, cocaine. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So that's the broad scope of why we got back involved. Obviously, we know how much work you guys do, and addiction affects every family across the country, no matter what. I mean, unfortunately, it is there. It's probably something that we shouldn't be like, okay, push it down. This guy's an alcoholic. No, let's try and rehab that person's life. Try to get, like everyone loves the Rocky movies. You know what I'm saying? They don't want this movie where the guy's like down and out and, okay, I'm not going to spend 2 hours just to listen to some guy cry. Like Rocky got knocked out, he retrained, and he won the belt again, and that's what people want to see. And,
well, that's the family dynamic.
Yeah.
When you stop and you think about it, at the end analysis of, the addiction when it's at its worst.
Yeah.
That's what people kind of see, but they forget about, the uncle when he was a successful person and, contributing and showing up and, making the picnics happen or whatever. And when you see and you engage the family when somebody's, coming to the end of treatment and you need to remind them that, that's it, that's that. They just want back that person that they know is there. They haven't given up on them. And you're right. There's a lot of tears and a lot of success and joy and cheers. And
So regarding Fresh Start here in particular in Calgary, I mean, obviously, there's an alcohol addiction, there's a drug addiction, and probably gambling addiction. I mean, obviously, unfortunately, Calgary's got a lot of casinos.
Yep.
I mean, I grew up here and you grew up here, and I don't even remember in the 70s if there was a casino in Calgary, you know what I'm saying? And, you got some really nice casinos, but, I mean, I lived in Vegas in the early 90s before I went to law school, and there is a huge problem with gambling addiction. But getting to my point, the people that come through Fresh Start, are they alcohol, drug-related, or gambling, or is there a percentage larger than the other areas?
We could talk about that a little bit. I think about going back to what I say. I see addiction as a singular disease.
Yeah, one thing.
And I see the choice of substance or activity being that for the person. There was a time when alcohol was the primary standing piece, in the oil days and the booms. You see that come up because it's a little bit more socially acceptable, right?
Yeah.
During the 80s and 90s, you see, that influx of cocaine use. And it kind of ebbs and flows along the way. We hit a high point with the opioid crisis, and a lot of people, the contributing factors, and you know what that's like. Injuries occur, and people become addicted. And, unfortunately, at no choice of their own.
Yeah.
But then you introduce methamphetamine. I would think the high points right now is probably methamphetamine, followed quickly by opiates.
Mm-hmm.
You know, below that becomes alcohol.
Yeah.
There's some individuals who are now coming forward, and previously marijuana wasn't really that thing, but with the introduction of dispensaries and the.
Well, I know in my neighborhood, I mean, I live on the west side, and there's a Sobeys there, Strathcona Park area. I don't live in Strathcona, the other area over, and there's the marijuana dispensary right there, and it's just interesting. Like I go into the Rexall to pick up some packages I order, go to Sobeys, and like people still pull up and like they look around. And then they slowly run into the
totally.
Because they're still a little ashamed with it, even though it's legal. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have.
And then I watch guys come out or ladies come out. They look both ways. Okay, no one's around. I'm running to my car.
Totally. I got a little bit of a funny one in a reverse end. So I'm quitting smoke. I quit smoking.
Yeah.
But I've been using Nicorette to do it.
Yeah.
So one day I realized I was out, and I drove up the street by Fresh Start, a block away.
Yeah.
And so there's the drugstore, and right next door is this, marijuana dispensary.
Yeah.
And the parking for the drugstore is more in front of the dispensary than it is in front of the drugstore.
Yeah.
So I pulled in, and I didn't think anything of it till I got out, and I went into the drugstore, whatever. Mm-hmm. But when I came out, I'm like, I better get in my car before somebody thinks I'm coming out of the, the dispensary. Mm-hmm. The executive director of Fresh Start coming out of the marijuana dispensary.
Oh, yeah.
So I understand that feeling of, that looking around.
There's a little shame.
There is, I think,
Yeah. I mean, it is legal in Canada now, and
yep.
they are, it's almost like a liquor store now. That's all it
is,
pretty much. You agree with that?
100%. Yeah. And I point that out because I think because there is an increase of individuals identifying the problem. I think, these decisions get made. I'm not trying to be political or anything. I just deal with it each day, right?
Yeah.
I deal with people that have, hit psychosis from marijuana, or they can't understand why, they can't stop, right?
Yeah.
That they're, so it's real. It's no different than the liquor store. You can go buy booze or you can go, go to the casino. These are all real, right? Those are the allowances of the socially acceptable ones, But then let's look at fentanyl. A large majority of individuals started off as individuals that got hurt in an accident or what have you, and just became dependent.
Or WCB, injured at work.
100%. Yeah. And Big Pharma capitalized,
Oh, yeah. Well, there's that Painkillers movie with the guy from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Matthew Broderick. I don't know if you've seen that Netflix series.
I may have.
I've seen 2 series. It's pretty hardcore. I mean, they knew that it was pretty strong, and they still sold it. And there's been class actions going on in the U.S. about it. But do you have a subscription to Netflix?
I do, and I think I've seen that one.
Yeah.
They went in. Was one of the pieces where the mechanic.
Yeah, that guy. He had a young family, and then he went crazy and is looking for that one pill. He ripped apart the whole kitchen just to find it.
Yeah.
It's very scary what happens with addiction. How people go to the extreme of finding that one little kick they need. So tell me a little bit. I mean, going through the system. Say that someone's, they know that there's a problem and they want to come to Fresh Start. Is there a waiting list to get in?
There's a waiting list. There's resources, people, again, I don't want to say it, I'll say it, we developed a little bit of a reputation and culture for success.
Yeah.
And individuals are attracted to that and hold a lot of hope in that. And again, that contributes to the efforts the government are putting forth, trying to open new facilities to reduce those wait lists. And we see that happening. But while they're there, when they call in, we advocate that, we try to bridge those gaps by encouraging them to go to detox, get through detox. Sometimes they can be directed to another, treatment center while in detox. And if they choose to remain on the list, then we try to put some pieces together and, remotely, for lack of better words, remotely.
Zoom meetings.
Try to work through some pieces and understand those components and get that direction going before they come. So
okay.
Yeah.
And then, so say when someone gets on the wait list to get admitted to the program there, I'll just pick one, alcohol, okay?
Sure.
And what they come and check in, what's their first day like coming to Fresh Start?
Yeah, 100%. So let's say they identify as an alcoholic and they've done those pieces and they're doing the admission. The first couple of days is a little, I don't want to say intrusive, but a lot of paperwork, a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Our goal is to gain some insight of the history and then understand them. Once we have an understanding, we can begin to build a case
in a program for
yeah,
them. Okay.
Totally.
So is everybody, do they go through the same program, or do you make an individual program for every other person? Or is there a formula you
There's
follow?
a formula.
Okay.
We'll call it a formula.
Yeah,
I don't want to say formula.
Yeah, and you don't want to be like McDonald's, like a, sort of like a...
We don't deal with widgets,
yeah,
right?
McDonald's is fine. They got a great service. You need a nice cheeseburger and fries, and you got a young family, $20. You can feed the whole family. I like their coffee. It's way better than Tim Hortons.
Me too. Okay. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a Tim's guy, but
okay.
I'll take McDonald's too. They got a good strong flavor there.
But they go through the first day, and how long is a program they have to go through when they get admitted to the
initial program's 90 days.
Okay, 3 months.
3 months. Okay. 3 months. Okay. So the piece that we talk about identifying that when we go back again to like seeing as an addiction, we'll understand that one is using alcohol, somebody else is using crack, what have you. They're practicing the same program, but some of that introspective investigation, that assessment that we do, we begin to understand, and then we set a personalized program for them. We have a core program that is sound in principle that we can deliver to all the individuals, regardless of the substance of choice.
Yeah.
However, the goal setting strategies for each individual is going to be different based on the individual's background, family, where they're at, homeless, community, employed, unemployed. There's so many contributing pieces that people need to put back together in their life. So, we do that through setting a series of goals with each individual. Each individual it's kind of a client-centric approach to them, outlaying their treatment program, if you will. So we give them a whole bunch of tools that, regardless if you're an alcoholic or an addict, they work in both cases. But in the core of it is these 12 goal areas where, ranging from recovery to relationships to employment, all the way to hobbies, mental and emotional well-being. They begin to set some goals in their life, and we put some smart goal structure around it so that they're sustainable and timely, and the recipe. Yeah. And they get to work through that, and there's an accountability that's when you talked about that pushing the envelope, well, it gives us a benchmark to bring them back to that. Yeah. But you said you wanted to do this. Why isn't this done yet? Yeah. Right? Okay. And in doing so, they're actually putting their own lives back together. Okay. And the other pieces, they find that some of the healing around the shame and the guilt and the remorse.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, like there should be no shame. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone makes mistakes. And if you get involved in alcohol and drugs, and you know what, you look in the mirror and say, hey, my name's Dave and I got a problem. And then you take that first step there should be no shame, because at the end of the day, we all make mistakes. I mean, my dad used to say life is not a straight line. No. And if it was a straight line, it would be pretty damn boring. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the ups and downs make life interesting. There's also a theory like, you got to be a person, and, sometimes God has to come and take you apart and rebuild you, but that makes you a better person. Would you agree with that? Yeah.
I totally agree with it. Yeah. It's funny you say that.
Yeah.
One of my favorite statements to the individuals in the house is, even throughout recovery in life, even when I thought life was falling apart, it was just really falling back together. Yeah. It's at that moment, talk God, higher power, whatever you want to discuss as, is come in to start putting the pieces where they're supposed to be, rather than me trying to make them where they're supposed to be.
Well, and then sometimes my dad had a saying in business, sometimes to make your business better, your life better, you got to tear it apart and rebuild it.
100%.
And that ends up being a better person, a better business, or a better home. Would you agree with that?
I do. But and I agree wholeheartedly about there should be no shame. When I think about the relationships lots of guys have with their families, the family isn't shaming them. No. The family desperately wants to love them and have that person back. We talked about that. The experience of the individual is self-imposed shame and guilt, and it's spurred from a layer of, months, years of behaviors that directly conflict the values and the principles that they already know or have experienced, that they're now crossing those lines.
But at the end of the day, I mean, we all go through our things, and if okay, so you got involved in opioids. Okay, well, that's in the past.
Yep.
I mean, you can't go back.
Nope.
You can live in the present, make a decision, but at the end of the day, you can't live in the future. So, there's always that idea you should only look in the present, which is hard. I mean, I struggle with it too, because,
totally.
What's that next motorcycle I'm going to buy? I already got 2 in my garage, you know what I'm saying? Or where's the next trip? But, I mean, at the end of the day, shame is kind of interesting because everyone's gone through their own shame, but at the end of the day, you can't turn the clock back, and are you going to waste your time? You have a limited amount of time on this world. Everyone's going to die.
But those are some of the tools that you've developed, right? That ability to reach that point of acceptance, right?
Yeah.
When we go back to talking about the program pieces, those are the pieces that we, whether it's alcohol or drugs, opiates, whatever.
Yeah.
We talk about that coming to acceptance, coming to terms, right? Yeah. We need to, there's a saying in the book that we read, we don't need to, wish to close the door on our past, right?
Yeah.
It's real. It happened.
Yeah.
But it doesn't define me who I am.
No.
And more importantly, I have this opportunity, much like your dad's saying, I have a chance to rebuild and become the man I'm destined to be, right? Mm-hmm. If you met me, 26 years ago, I was probably a much different person, and you probably wouldn't invite me for a podcast. And
well, maybe, I don't know.
Well, maybe it might have been. It would have been pretty interesting. We could say that.
Yeah.
But through work, education, knowledge, some spiritual paths, I've come to understand this piece, and today I believe I'm the man I'm destined to be. I'm comfortable in that. We had a conversation with a gentleman today. It's like when you become at peace with yourself, you get to be here. That struggle of today and yesterday that you talked about. I know that so well.
But you got to be content with yourself. And this is one thing I took away from COVID. And I think a lot of people really struggle with COVID because you can't go out. The government says you can't go out. Actually, I enjoy being at home. It was chilling out. I used to hang out with, my dogs. My wife was home. My kids were home. And, you got to be comfortable in your own body. It's like everyone has to go out to Chinook Center and meet their friends or go to a bar. And they need that satisfaction of being recognized. Like, who gives a shit? Like, I'm sort of saying that you gotta have that inner peace in
brother
yourself.
I'm right on their side.
But people don't realize that, you understand. And this is the biggest struggle that people have with COVID. And then in the day, okay, I was an alcoholic. I go to Fresh Start. I'm peace of myself. That's in the past, but now I can live with myself. And the only person you have to satisfy in this world is yourself.
Totally. Because in the end analysis, that's who you live with. I live with me. Yeah. My only challenges in life is not an argument between you and me.
Well, we could argue.
It's an argument between me and myself.
Yeah.
There's nothing more painful than that piece. I want to add this one for you.
Yeah.
I see it as this duality of human being or a human doing.
Yeah.
I'm tired of being a human doing. It's exhausting. And having to create an image and a brand and live up to that and be part of something. And, how many likes did you get? It's hard on society. It's hard on people, to be able to sitting right here. I love this because I get to, my best friend says, just be where your feet are, hanging out here doing this with you I get to be right where my feet are.
Well, in 3 generations, no one's going to know who the hell you and I are.
Totally,
correct?
Totally.
So why would you give a shit care about now? You understand?
100%.
So let me get a little bit into so you get admitted and you go through the program. Now, is there kind of like this struggle initially when someone comes in because they can't, obviously they can't drink alcohol or drugs? Is there kind of what is it called, a detox?
Detox.
Yeah. Is there that initial stage where they go through and they're frustrated and they want to quit or something like that? I just interesting.
All the time. Yeah, totally. I think when you look at it, there's, I let it out a little bit earlier, the idea of detoxing from opiates is dramatically different.
Yeah, there's a withdrawal, right?
Yeah, the withdrawal is
crazy.
Is insane in comparison to, if you crack cocaine. we leverage, detox centers, Alpha House, there's Renfrew Recovery, Fort McLeod, who are specialized, the latter two are specialized in being able to do medically assisted treatment to allow to get that passed, right? But it just because somebody went without using for 7 days doesn't mean just because the circuit's left down, it doesn't mean the monkey's off the back. And so that occurs, and we understand that. And we try to find enough empathy, understanding, compassion, tolerance, patience to work through those issues, because they're really opportunities for the person to learn, right? It's like going to the gym. The first set isn't what you get strong on. It's the third set that makes you strong.
Oh yeah.
And really we treat it that way, and we deal with them, and the diversity is in challenges or reasons why people want to quit is exponential.
Oh yeah.
Right? The driving force is the same of the addictive chemical release in the body is running the same, trying to control and bring them back, but every reason and rationale for doing it is always different, or so we work through that, and we expect that to happen. So that will usually subside after about the first 30 days, when the body's really truly detoxed, and that chemical balance of dopamine and endorphins and GABAs has started to rebalance themselves. The body starts, in essence, healing itself, rebalancing itself. Because going back to that brain disease, it's like any mental illness. There's a chemical imbalance that occurs, and that rebalancing of the body happens. Quite often we see a bit of a change around the 30-day mark. And
so the first clarity. 30 days is kind of withdrawal period. Yeah. And they go through the program. What's the next 60 days look for the person getting into fresh start? A
lot of times I'll say there's a newfound enthusiasm. They start to really engage and start to see some light, and the hope begins, and they begin seeing the worth of their investment in themselves, and really that. I talk about all we need is a little ember of hope, and our job is to, fan it into a raging fire of hope. And my staff do an incredible job, showing up and being present and helping, create that to happen, so that, that 90 days, throughout the 90 days, like we started off, it's regardless, it's colorful all the way. There's, it's like herding kittens some days, and sometimes they're just pushing the envelope just because, and in other ones it could be detrimental to them, right? So
there's a 30-day withdrawal kind of period. There's a 6 days where you're giving them hope, and they say okay, and then what's the last 90 days look like? The last 30 days. Sorry,
I think the last 30 days is where some. Going back to the goals, it starts to click in. Hopefully they've been able to apply themselves, and they're coming to that. It's that planning period of what's next. Right? You're not gonna. You don't live in treatment forever. You're going back to your family. You're going back to community.
It's like like you get to grade 12 and then you realize it's May and graduation's June. Like, what the heck am I doing? Yeah. How can I still live in my parents' house?
It's a great analogy. It's a great analogy, right?
Well, I'm going to go to college now for 4 years. Then after college, like, okay, what's the next step?
Totally,
I have to go out and I'll go to law school.
But those are those same building blocks that we talk about. Like, you talk about law school and university and college, and we have an alumni. We have an alumni. You graduated. Guess what? You graduated from the school of hard knocks. And there was an accomplishment.
It's a graduation of life, essentially. It's not a hard knocks. Life is tough.
No. A set of hard knocks brought you there, and going back to the piece, you fought your way through it. You held on. You started to reclaim those values, those beliefs, those principles, reapply them to your life.
Okay.
Your family's ready to. The open arms are there. They're coming back, and and then other times people need a little bit more support, and I can tell you more a little bit. We have kind of a 4-phase program, and we'll offer for another 90 days some not as intensive supports, but we'll have an outreach department that will work with guys going back to the community, and they're there for, some guidance, some reminders, some assistance, what have you. And, Fresh Start, we're fortunate enough that we've, aligned ourselves with some affordable housing options that, guys gratitude and women, them, they, he, she, all them, are able to access, depending on availability. And that could be a path. So.
Yeah. So they go through the 90 program, and is there a graduation, kind of like a little ceremony to get?
It's totally. Yeah. We don't call it graduation because it's really never over, right?
Yeah.
That life thing, it's not over. So we call it gratitude. So at the end, it gives them an opportunity to talk about what they're grateful for. They take a reflection of where they were and where they are, and you can see it in their eyes. The light has come back. They're ready to begin expressing that, that hope for tomorrow and that moving forward. Yeah.
And then you talk about there's a big alumni system. Like, you welcome people coming back to the Fresh Start, obviously, to get involved in the program and just be part of the brotherhood and sisterhood there.
Yeah, 100%. We have a small army, and they attend. Last night we had a birthday ceremony, for instance, and Wednesday nights the alumni get together, and they're individuals like, you and I technically, who are out in the community. They put their lives back together. They've got their families working, doing it, and they come back and celebrate some clean time. And, last night I think there was a total of 58 years. One gentleman was 15 years clean, and took his, kudos for that, and we just get together and celebrate those accomplishments.
Yeah,
so
we should. I mean, it's part of life, and bad things and good things happen, but at the end of the day, there should be no shame. And you obviously have a big alumni network, and you always want to welcome people back. Just out of curiosity, like, someone goes through the program, is there kind of like people getting back in the program because they can't, they get back to the whatever they're doing before, or they get come back?
100% relapse.
Right?
Yeah.
So how percentage-wise does that usually happen?
Well, I'll give you some real statistics that we have.
You must keep statistics.
We do. Completely. And part of that case management continuum, and, that assessment isn't about gleaming the information, but it's also about program improvement, right? Where's our weak spots, right? Yeah. So I'll give you a small example. When I first came to Fresh Start, I think, we had a 8-week program. Yeah. And then, we began designing, and we always wanted to be a 90-day program. Yeah. And we could only get enough funding to allow for 12 weeks, but we took it. Yeah. And at that time, the 8-week program had like a 94% success rate for completing program, right? Yeah. And then when we switched to 12 weeks, it dropped down to 88. Oh, okay. And then it dropped down to about 85. And we're kind of like, oh, what's going on? Yeah. Right? Everybody's like, this was a mistake. Yeah. But we also began taking a look at 1-year statistics. Yeah. And those 1-year statistics went from 45% up to 48%. So that meant the longer term treatment was paying off in longer term recovery. Yeah. So we were able to create a set of dynamics or measurables, outcomes that seen that. So today we continue with the, that 85, 87% success rate for group completion. Yeah. And now we hover in around about 54% of those graduating people go on to be clean and sober for 1 year. Okay. In the last little while, we've been designing some, I don't want to get too technical, data capture tools. Yeah. I hate to refer to them as that, but really that's what they are. So that we begin to measure those, those individuals who got 15 years or 5 years, and to see where that is. And it's allowed us to adjust our programming accordingly to try to fill some of the gaps that we, like, obviously you don't know what you don't know. And, as you said, life's not a straight path. And so we're always kind of pivoting and adapting and trying to create that best practice. And, so.
Okay. And then obviously there's always, you guys have open arms to your alumni to come back and stuff like that. Yeah. You've got the Stampede Barbecue. Obviously, I attended a couple of weeks ago with Zach, our marketing
brought us
manager.
A check too.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
But it was just amazing when I pull up. It's like, wow, there's a lineup of people waiting to get in, and I hate to bump the line, but you graciously let us. I would have waited in line, when Queen Elizabeth died. I don't remember when, people were viewing her body. David Beckham, he didn't bump himself to the line. He waited in line for like a day or so.
Yeah.
But I mean, we had a small window.
I know.
But at the end of the day, it was great to see all, like, the gym was full. People were there. I mean, Nemchi was there. Who else showed up?
A wide variety. The mayor was there.
Mayor was there for a while. Yeah.
The chief of police from Lethbridge came up. That we rolled into Lethbridge, and they just want to know who we are, and we're
So it was good. It was good Stampede barbecue. Good food and good company and everything.
Honestly, it was probably one of our best turnouts, and it just says,
I was amazed at how many people were there.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was gonna be some small affair. Like, okay, it's huge, and then obviously you've got the big motorcycle unveiling in I think it was the bike shows in January. That beautiful street glide that was custom worked by Calgary Harley, who always does a great job. They did a bike for me, Cherry, the big road glide we have. Winston on the side.
Beautiful bike.
But you have a beautiful bike too. I actually bought a ticket last week, so hopefully I win the bike.
Yeah, can't cut no lines for you there, big guy.
No, but I'm in the draw.
Totally.
And I got my 50-50 ticket too. Excellent. So I'm crossing my fingers. But the bike, tell us a little bit. How do you raise the money for the bike, and how does that money go back? To raise. How does that help you with Fresh Start?
Can I jump back one?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah. Feel free.
And I'm not being patronizing, and I know you're a
you
pretty humble guy.
You should be patronizing.
Yeah, I should be. It's your support.
Yeah.
Going back to that first statement that you shed the light on that it can be anybody.
Yeah.
That lineup occurs because there's a whole bunch of other people just like you coming.
Yeah.
And community supports that allow us to do what we do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you come into the table and becoming our VIP sponsors this year and having those it's all about communication and conversation,
Yeah.
You tell two people and it goes and it just grows from there. And so, the part is saying, again, I'll tell you, thank you for that support. Mm-hmm. It's important.
Well, I think it's always important, especially my parents always taught me and my three sisters, and they're active in the community in Banff and Canmore, Calgary. It's not a right to be a professional or have a nice business working. It's a privilege. And totally. I think there's an obligation to help the community and give back to the community. And that's why I'm involved with you guys again.
Sounds very reminiscent of our board chair and the lesson his father said. But it's that engagement that brings people and it breaks down those barriers and allows us to engage in these activities. We'll get to the bike run and the bike now. I remember 16 years ago we started out and it was 9 of us in a Max store parking lot with this idea of what we want to do, and 15 years later we're up to 300 people, breakfast, lunch, dinner, countryside ride, all sponsored by individuals like yourselves, Calgary Harley Davidson, and countless others. And it's an important aspect, when you think about the bike itself. Obviously we need to buy the bike on the front end, and we hope to sell raffle tickets. So if you're out there and you're listening, www.freshstartrecovery.ca will get you to the raffle. We could use your support, the last 20 days
get
out
there and get a bike. Come on, there's all these free bikes out there. We get I bought a ticket, so I'm going to challenge everyone out in Calgary and Alberta to go get a ticket, okay? Because it's a good cause. It's a beautiful bike. It's a street glide, custom work by Calgary Harley Davidson, the custom shop. And if it was on the floor, I'd probably buy it myself. Okay. Yeah. But unfortunately I can't buy it. So hopefully I'm crossing my fingers, but I encourage everyone to contribute to Fresh Start and get a ticket for this great bike.
So, when I think about the bike run's a friend raiser, brings a community together.
Yeah.
It gives us a chance to, engage community and also create an awareness of what we do.
Yeah.
You go around, you learn a little bit about each step and how it contributes to that first 90 days that we talked about. But it's the raffle that, creates the money for it. Yeah,
the hoopla. Everyone goes crazy for a bike. What's a bike? So if I went and to Calgary Harley and said, build me the same bike that Fresh Start's got, what would that cost me?
$65,000.
It's a lot of cash.
A lot of cash.
A lot of money for a bike.
A lot of money on a bike.
Okay.
A lot of bells and whistles. A lot of engine enhancement. It's built to the and even building the bike, we engaged the community to come up with the ideas of what they wanted to.
Yeah, I was talking to Bobby. He actually was a patient of my dad's. I don't know if you know the history of their family. But, But he told me that I guess he took a lot of inquiries and encouraged people like, what would you like on the bike? Is that correct?
Yep,
so
totally.
A lot of feedback came in.
100%. From color to we give selections of different choices of foot pegs to stereo to engine. So it came out.
But now, if you want, you probably can't win the bike, would you?
I could technically win the bike. We did have a staff member win the bike one year, and everybody
Bruce Spy's going to win it again? Because that guy wins everything.
Yeah, he didn't win. He didn't win this time, but he's a driver. Bruce is a driver for us, man. He's an amazing soul. He's a good spirit.
Oh yeah, I know him.
Yeah, I know you do. I hope when I'm his age, I'm still riding. And
he's in Mexico half the time.
Yeah, totally. So
can you win the bike at all or no?
I could win the bike.
But are you going to give someone else an opportunity to win?
I'll give some. You know what? Yeah. For my own support for the organization, I buy tickets.
Okay, that's good.
If
obviously,
if the truth be had and I did win the bike, I would probably.
Well, you could always get to a poor lawyer over on the other side of the table. Just
probably could do that.
Show it at my house, and Nathan and I go riding on it, right?
That's right. There you go. That's an idea. Might allow us an opportunity.
I don't think my wife's going to say another bike in the house. Are you serious, Steve? Like, when is this going to end?
I know. I went through that. My partner was, how many bikes do you need now? I'm down to one, but sometimes I dread going up to Calgary Harley because every time there I just get there. It just starts. It's I got to get out of here before I put some money down.
So the raffle will be on August 24th, or is it that day or in September? When actually is the raffle for the bike?
Day of the bike run? I think it's 24th.
Yeah, 24th. It's coming up. It's already August 1st, so we're 23 days away from the big poker run. And that starts at
it's not really a poker run. There's a two-part component.
Okay.
It's more of a scavenger hunt, right? Okay. So you're going to get clues along the way where you're going to go.
Yeah.
Pick up some swag, they're going to, you mentioned, one of the stops is, involves Grover Law, and you're going to come down, meet, talk, shake hands, get some stuff, little insight.
Yeah, I'll be here shaking hands.
We got some activity planned for you. Maybe, hopefully, we, as a result, will give you a gift that,
I don't need another gift.
I know you don't, but it's just one of those pieces, I'm not going to give it all away because we like to keep a little bit of secrecy every year. Yeah. I'll tell you, man, it's a challenge. 16 years, we've never run the same course once.
Yeah.
And, we try to keep it real. We put people up in helicopters. We sent them down bobsledding.
You can be like a big bucket of those double bubble gums, those big paint buckets.
Yeah.
Give me that.
One of those?
Yeah, that's all I need.
Nice. I think it will be a leftover, a gift as a leftover experience of what they're going to happen at your stop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it'll all make sense when you see it.
You don't have to give me anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I know that, but
Okay.
it fits. I think what we're going to do is, each one will go to, the various sponsors that have come up, and it'll be an interactive activity that the riders will take part in, and the remaining whatever that is, we'll be able to give
I'm
away.
a giver, not a taker.
I know.
So I like to give. I like to give back to the community. It's just like I'm always thinking like, how can I help someone else? But getting back to the scavenger hunt, what time does that start at on August 24th?
I show up 8:00 in the morning.
Yeah, at Fresh Start.
At Fresh Start.
Okay.
Kickstand's up at 9.
Okay, so it's an early start.
It's an early start.
Yeah,
it's a long day. It's a full day. You're
Okay.
you're going to average maybe 350 kilometers that day. We're going to feed you breakfast. There's lunch. There's an amazing dinner at the end.
So I can start myself, even though I got to start too. I can show up at 9.
You can show up and then
ride to my spot.
Ride off to your spot and do your thing here and catch up to us because we'll give you insight. You'll have your clue to where you need to catch up and.
Cool. And then it goes the whole day. And what time does the run end at?
Yeah, typically it year to year varies anywhere 4:30 to 5:30, depending on how many stops. And this year's a little bit more complicated because we've got a couple really good stops. Like add some wow to your life.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Opportunity to do things that you might not have done before. I'll say. Yeah.
And then after 4:30, what happens after that? Any kind of shindig or
we get together. We all meet at the end. You know, step 12, stop 12.
Yeah.
Come together for dinner. You know.
And where is that?
Well, don't really want to tell you, but this year
it'll be a secret.
Yeah, totally. Each stop, I can't give them away.
Okay.
So we come together. It's all prepared. We have most of our chefs come together from the various facilities. Mm-hmm. They come up and a huge team puts together. You know, last year was amazing steak dinner and you know, all part of the $50 entry fee.
What time does the affair go till?
You know, by the time we draw and settle the 50-50 draw and everything else, you know, I'm gonna say probably, you know, you could be back on your bike riding home by latest 6:00.
So
you know?
am I going to be back on my new bike riding home? So
well,
can I take my
I don't
bike?
know if you could ride from there with it, but you know, Calgary Harley might be there, so they might work something out. Being your relationship is there.
Yeah, I've had the same insurance broker for over 25 years. I could probably call him right away to get me a pink slip and registration. So,
and being a lawyer, you could probably talk your way out of half of it anyway. So,
yeah. So should I take my bike all the way to the end, or just leave it at home and then have someone take a taxi to the end so I could ride my new bike?
Feeling lucky?
Yeah. I'm not very lucky. And anyways, I mean, I think. I've got some bikes, and you know, I think it would be more enjoyment to see someone who really wants that bike, you know, that really deserves the bike. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we've given some bikes away, and I think it's really important for me to have the satisfaction. Like, obviously, if someone loves that bike and like, this is my dream bike, you know, like I think that would be more satisfying than you taking the bike home, wouldn't it?
100%. You know, it's only been the last 4 years or so, I'm going to say that we've been able to consistently make that a choice to have a bike, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to raise a bike. I mean, there's a lot of charities out there like, you know, all of a sudden, you know, okay, you want to drop your sponsorship. Well, go find a bike. Go find a $50,000 bike. They ain't sitting around. Trust me. I don't think these dealers in Calgary, I mean, they're not giving bikes away for free, are they?
No, not at all.
Did they ever give you guys a bike for free?
No. I'd like to see that if you're listening.
Well,
maybe we're going to step it up a little bit.
Tom Weil to give you a free bike, but they don't give them out for free anymore.
No, and it doesn't matter the dealership.
Yeah, I know. I'm just joking.
Different ones.
Yeah.
But I do remember years ago, you know, another lawyer, Chris Manderville, if you're listening, donated a bike for us.
Okay, that's nice.
And we raffled it off.
Yeah.
And one of our alumni won it.
Okay.
And he wasn't a motorcycle enthusiast, but he sold it, and he took the money and he made all the financial amends that he had to make to family and everything. And it wasn't a great outcome, right?
Well, yeah, that's the way it is. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, if you don't want to ride the bike, but then if you make your life better, like, you know, okay, like I don't want this bike, I'll get a smaller bike and I'll put money away for a college fund, and that pays for that kid to get an engineering degree at University of Calgary. You know, at least you made a difference in that person's life. Yeah. Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
Last year, I know the older gentleman won the bike, and it was a really funny story because when I called him to tell him, he didn't believe it at all.
Yeah.
And the problem was he was looking at that exact bike and wanting that, like yearning. You know the feeling.
That was that 125 red bike.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that one. Yeah,
yearning for that bike.
Yeah.
And
was he excited?
Beyond. At first, he couldn't believe it, and then we found out just, you know, how bad that he wanted that bike, and the only reason was he went up to Calgary Harley that day to look at that same bike, not our. Then he seen the draw, and he made his wife go back in and buy him tickets. Yeah. And
but that must have made you feel proud.
Oh,
I mean,
totally.
You know, at the end of the day, you just put a smile on a person's face. That really doesn't come. I mean, everyone should be happy every day. You know, there's no reason to be depressed or upset.
You couldn't knock the smile off if you tried. You know,
but he was the happiest man probably in Calgary that day. Eh?
Totally.
Does he still have the bike?
He does.
Okay, so he does.
He might come out. We invite him out. He works up north, so he.
Yeah.
So he needs to. Yeah, totally. He needs to see if he's in or out. But
well, I hope the run goes. You know, everything goes well in the next 3 weeks, and then the other event that I'm kind of interested with you is you got that little Christmas party, kind of New Year's Christmas party, isn't it?
Sober New Year's.
You want to tell people about that?
Yeah, sure. We don't have it planned, but
I saw that on Facebook. It's like, what the heck? I was in Banff. We always go to Banff for 3 or 4 days, and I saw like everyone's dancing. Like, why? And my wife says, "Why aren't we there?" Like, Steve, why are you such a stiff pig? You know what I'm saying?
Totally. You think about that world of addiction and finding those pieces that, social engagements that people can begin to do again. And how does that happen? And, for sure, we've been doing dances for a long time. And these last few years, why not have a big blowout New Year's bash, right?
Yeah.
And last year we did one, and, you've seen it on Facebook.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
we bring in people from all over the community, up to 500 people, or in and out of the building that day, experiencing fun, and people bringing kids and family.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's that support. I'd love to get together with you, Anna. We have some great ideas, and, it's hard to come by, you have these great ideas and you're busy, all the money's going over here, and you don't want to look like you're a little, all that, because I want to go back to, we only get to do these events with, and again, it's people like you, Calgary Harley, many others who come to the table and help us make it happen, right? It's not coming out of our budget. It's, we're working on it off the side of our desk. There are extra activities. But, when you notice it and you think it's a great time, and you want to show up because you can see people having fun, right?
I was actually jealous. And my wife, you're so boring, Steve. Let's go next year.
Yeah,
that's
totally,
what Tanya said.
It'd be great.
Okay.
We'll do a black tie event here and show up in a tuxedo.
I don't know if I want a tuxedo. I'm my age now is sort of like chill and relax and just talk to people. And,
I seen you in I apologize for not making to your bike night. I was just pressed, but I seen the
we had mariachi.
Instagram.
Did you see a mariachi band?
I did. It was fantastic, man.
I hope you're coming to the next one, August 22nd at Big Sky.
100%.
The theme is Texas theme. We're going to have a country band. We're going to have some line dancers, and we're going to have some good music and free. I think 150 people showing up. Dinner's on me.
Nice. Okay. I'll buy anyways. I'm the same way. I don't mind giving but I'll show up.
Okay.
But I was impressed, and I love the shirt. You talk about being that casual guy that, I joke. I got a picture on my phone I'll show you later. And you've arrived when a guy dresses up like you after Halloween, and there's a guy, he's got the nice shirt, folded cover, and I was laughing, but when I seen his shirt, I'm like, that is a good shirt, man. It looks good.
Well, if you ever want those shirts, go up to Boulder Menswear in Aspen Landing.
Okay.
They got two stores. They got one. And go see my the guy I deal with, Justin, just a good guy. He's a biker too.
Yeah.
He's got a couple of Harleys, but there's a store in Aspen Landing, Boulder's Menswear. He's got all these funky shirts.
Very cool.
And his uncle owns the Boulder Menswear in Canmore. So
he
works for his uncle. But they got a great selection of like casual shirts, jackets, pants, all reasonably priced. Not crazy expensive. So. I got to get a little plug for Boulder.
Plug in there?
Yeah,
there
I mean, I got a lot of funky shirts because of Boulder, so I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah, I got a whole closet full just from
maybe
pretty eclectic guy from. I never heard of Boulder, but
maybe you and I should go shopping one day.
Yeah, totally, that'd be good. Yeah,
Sunday you got free, let me know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that. That'd be good.
So I wish you guys all the best this year. Obviously, this has been a good year for Fresh Start, and obviously it's up and above, and you got the big run coming up, and we're gonna be there. Clapping and cheering everyone on, and hopefully they'll have a good time at our stop.
Yeah, 100%. I have nothing but confidence. We're looking forward to coming around and making a stop here, and I hope you come out and start with us because we can make it work. We have enough effort going in, and you can come back and be part of your stop.
And as a Flames fan, you got to keep those fingers crossed. I mean, the Oilers did make the finals this year. I don't know. I don't know what Calgary's going to do.
No,
but they got the new stadium now. They've approved that finally.
Yep.
So hopefully
breaking ground. I think they got a couple noise bylaw challenges they're working through.
My favorite player, Matt Tkachuk, he left for Miami, so number 19. But at least he won the cup. I'm happy for him. Remember his old man?
No.
Keith Tkachuk played for the Jets. His dad was an NHLer, long time. I think he scored 500 goals, a power forward like Matt. So, but hopefully the Flames will turn around someday and make the finals again. But
100%. We speaking of other treatment centers, there's a place out in Winnipeg that we support freely and try to mentor and have offered a lot of guidance. Put together by Scott Oak from Hockey Night in Canada.
Yeah, I know who
he had lost his son to an overdose, and made it his him and his wife both made it their, direction in life to build a treatment center.
Oh, well, that's good on him.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, unfortunately, he had some tragedy in his family. It's terrible to lose a child, but he's turned that into something
it into successful and an ongoing memory of the Bruce Oak Center. But I have to, every time I touch base, he's kind of got a jab here and there, but he stays pretty neutral. Because given his,
is he
his
jabbing
role.
about the Flames?
Yeah,
They suck?
yeah.
Okay. Well,
Totally.
the Jets aren't that good either.
No, totally. So holds it back a bit. So.
Well, those Blue Bombers, they're good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for showing up. I know you're a really busy man. You got a beautiful facility up there. I encourage everyone to go to your Stampede Barbecue. I know I'm going to be there again. I was amazed at how busy it was, and I'm going to make sure I take. It's always the last Friday of Stampede, isn't it?
It is. Yep. Totally. Last Friday of Stampede.
Yeah.
You'll have the same experience at the bike run. You'll be amazed. You get out and have that dinner, have that lunch.
Yeah.
Lots of entertainment too.
Meet some good people, shake some hands, and just get to know people. I think that's the most important thing I enjoy about my job. It's not just representing people or making money. It's just that social interaction and taking care of people. And I love meeting new people. And look forward to being at your scavenger run hunts on August 24th.
Thanks, Steve.
And hopefully the right guy wins that bike.
Totally.
Okay.
Okay, totally. We'll see how that works out.
All right. Beautiful white street glide.
It is.
It's kind of like a pale kind of matte white or something like
that. Yeah, matte white. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of bells, whistles, extras.
Yeah. It blings like Vegas. It should be on the Strip in Vegas, right?
It does. It's a good looking bike.
Elvis impersonator should be on it too, right?
Hey, $65,000 bike for a $20 ticket. You can't go wrong.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for all you do. I really appreciate you taking your time, and I wish you and Rod and Bobby and everyone else at Fresh Start all the best, and keep on growing and helping people get their lives back.
Thanks, my friend.
Part of life. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Right, well,
thanks for making
Bruce.
us feel comfortable.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, brother.
So everyone out there, thank you again for joining us for another Bulldog Brewhouse podcast. So happy to have Bruce here, and you know what? Get out there and buy those tickets. I mean, that $20 is it?
$20.
You can win a $65,000 Harley. You can't get any better investment now on that. $20.
I think there's only 4,000 tickets.
Well, get
pretty limited too.
Well, get a lot of tickets. How many tickets are left?
We got I think we just broke the 60% mark. So
okay, so that's pretty good. So
you still got good odds.
Well, let's get on in Calgary and the rest of Alberta and Canada too, if you're Canadian.
No, just Alberta.
Okay, only Alberta.
Only Alberta.
Nobody from BC.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll just leave them at the border. Right?
Totally.
Okay, so everyone out there in Alberta, the rest of Calgary, get out and support Fresh Start. It's a great cause, and hopefully you win a $65,000 bike. You'll have a sweet ride to run around in Calgary, Edmonton, or wherever you're from. But in the meantime, everyone hopefully ride hard, ride safe, and be safe out there, and see you on the next episode of the Bulldog Brewhouse podcast. Thank you. Cheers.